The rifle clattered onto the concrete, its metallic echo silencing 50 voices instantly. Ava Cross, the woman they'd spent an hour mocking as just the janitor, hadn't flinched when beer cans struck her back, or when they'd ordered her to lick boots. But now, as fluorescent light caught the etched code on the Barrett's receiver, a code that made Colonel Rourke's face drain of color, every phone lowered, every laugh died. The janitor they'd humiliated wasn't just holding a rifle. She was holding their careers in hands that once guided bullets through impossible winds, hands that bore scars from operations they'd only heard whispered in classified briefings. Welcome to my story. Comment your city below, so I can see how far this tale travels. The mop bucket crashed against the doorframe, with enough force to send gray water cascading across the polished floor of Crescent Bay Joint Range's weapons wing. Laughter erupted from the cluster of soldiers gathered near the rifle racks, their evening training session, apparently less interesting than watching the maintenance tech struggle with her equipment. Jesus Cross, you trying to flood the place? Sergeant Dalton's voice carried that particular brand of military disdain reserved for civilians and support staff. At 32, he wore his 3 chevrons, like a crown. His broad shoulders squared as he stepped deliberately through the spreading puddle. What's the matter? Tremor acting up again. Ava Cross didn't look up from where she knelt, already pulling fresh rags from her cart. Her right hand did shake a subtle constant that she'd learned to work around to hide when necessary. The nerve damage was old, a parting gift from shrapnel that had found her 8 years ago in a place whose name was still classified. But Dalton didn't know that. None of them did. I'll have it cleaned in 5 minutes, Sergeant. Her voice stayed level professional. She'd perfected that tone through 100 interactions like this one since taking the custodial position 6 months ago. It was easier than explaining why someone with her background was mopping floors. Easier than discussing medical boards and honorable discharges, and the bitter taste of being told your body could no longer do what your mind still remembered perfectly. Corporal Knox, younger and eager to impress his sergeant, grabbed a fresh beer from the cooler they weren't supposed to have in the weapons wing. 5 minutes, shit. My grandmother moves faster, and she's been dead 3 years. The joke landed perfectly with his audience. Private Chen snorted, 2 other specialists chuckled. The sound bounced off the concrete walls, amplifying in the twilight quiet of the range. Ava's left eye tracked them, while her right, the prosthetic one that looked real enough unless you knew what to look for, stayed focused on her work. She'd learned to manage the limited peripheral vision, to compensate with positioning and awareness. Her hands moved in practiced patterns, wringing the mop with deliberate precision despite the tremor. Use your shirt, Dalton suggested, his boot deliberately kicking more water across the floor she'd just cleaned. Probably absorb better than those shit rags supply gives you. The first mini-climax arrived as Ava stood slowly, her full height revealing itself. At 5'9", she wasn't imposing, but something in the way she occupied space made Knox step back involuntarily. The rags are sufficient, Sergeant. I'll have this handled. Did I ask for your opinion? Dalton moved closer, close enough that she could smell the beer on his breath, see the calculation in his eyes. He was measuring her, trying to understand why she didn't cower like the other civilian contractors. You know what your problem is, Cross. You carry yourself like you used to be somebody, but you're not. You're the help. The room's energy shifted, became predatory. Chen pulled out his phone, started recording. This was going to be good content for the private military humor forums, putting the uptight janitor in her place. Ava's response came in the form of movement, subtle, controlled. She shifted her weight, angled her body to keep exits in sight while maintaining a non-threatening posture. It was muscle memory training so deep, it survived nerve damage and prosthetic eyes and hands that shook. Not one of them recognized it for what it was, Battlefield positioning, the kind operators learned after too many ambushes in too many forgotten places. "You're right, Sergeant," she said quietly. "I'm just the janitor. If you'll excuse me, I need to get more supplies from the storage room." But Dalton wasn't done. His hand shot out, grabbed the chain around her neck, pulled until the dog tags she still wore, habit more than pride, now emerged from beneath her work shirt. "Well, well, playing soldier, are we? Let me guess. National Guard Reserves, washed out of basic." The second mini-climax crystallized as Ava's left hand moved, not fast, not aggressive, just inevitable. She caught Dalton's wrist with her thumb, finding the pressure point that made his fingers open involuntarily. The tags dropped back against her chest, and she stepped back, hands visible and empty. "Please don't touch me again, Sergeant." The room went silent except for Chen's nervous giggle. Dalton's face flushed red, the kind of red that preceded bad decisions. Knox, sensing his sergeant's mood, finished his beer and threw the can. It struck Ava's shoulder foam, spraying across her face and work shirt. "Oops," Knox said, not bothering to hide his smirk. "Clumsy me. Better clean that up too, janitor." The tremor in Ava's hand worsened for a moment, not from nerve damage, but from the effort of control. She could dismantle Knox in 4 moves, even with the tremor, even with one working eye. She could demonstrate exactly what kind of soldier she'd been. But that wasn't who she was anymore. That wasn't why she was here. She pulled a clean rag from her pocket, wiped the beer from her face with methodical strokes. "Of course, Corporal." "On your knees," Dalton said suddenly. The words hung in the air like a challenge. "You're going to clean my boots. They got wet from your mess." The third mini-climax built as every person in the room leaned forward slightly, sensing they were approaching some invisible line. Chen's phone captured it all, the janitor standing perfectly still, the sergeant pointing at his boots, the circle of soldiers closing in like wolves testing prey. "No." The word was soft, but it carried. Dalton blinked, genuinely surprised. "Excuse me." "I said no, Sergeant. I'll clean the floor. I'll wipe down the equipment. I'll ensure this facility meets health and safety standards. But I won't clean your boots. That's not in my job description." "Your job description is whatever I say it is when you're in my training area." "Actually," a new voice interjected, "it's not." Lieutenant Varma stood in the doorway, having arrived for the evening weapon inspection. Young for her rank at 28, she had the sharp eyes of someone who'd earned her butter bar in combat rather than college. Her gaze swept the scene, the water, the beer cans, the phones recording Ava, standing alone in the center of it all. "Gentlemen, unless you're planning to explain to Colonel Rourke why there's video of you harassing civilian contractors circulating on social media, I suggest you put the phones away." The phones disappeared, but the tension remained. Varma stepped into the room, her boots clicking on the wet concrete. She paused. Near Ava noticed something the others had missed. The way the janitor's stance had shifted when she entered, reading her as threat or ally in microseconds. It was familiar, though Varma couldn't place why. "Sergeant Dalton, don't you have a night qualification to prepare for?" "Yes, ma'am. I can see what you were just doing. Carry on with your actual duties." As Varma moved toward the weapon racks for her inspection, her eyes caught something else. A medical wrap around Ava's right wrist, partially hidden by her work shirt. Not a normal brace. The kind issued for nerve stabilization, the kind that required specific military medical authorization. The fourth mini-climax emerged as Varma's inspection stopped cold. She turned back to look at Ava, who was quietly mopping again, and the pieces started clicking, the positioning, the control, the specific type of medical equipment. "Cross," Varma said carefully. "Ava Cross." "Yes, Lieutenant." "Nothing. Carry on." But Varma pulled out her phone, typed a quick query into a personnel database she technically shouldn't have access to. The results made her breath catch. She looked at the woman mopping beer off the floor, then at the classification stamps on the limited file, most of it redacted, but enough visible to understand. Enough to make her angry at what she'd just witnessed. "Sergeant Dalton!" Varma's voice had changed, become sharp enough to cut glass. "A word. Outside. Now." As they left, Knox decided to push his luck. Without Dalton there to impress, he felt the need to establish his own dominance. Must be nice having an officer protect you. But she won't always be around Cross. Ava continued mopping, her rhythm never changing. But Chen, still recording secretly from his pocket, caught what Knox missed: the micro-expression that crossed her face. It wasn't fear. It was calculation, the kind predators made when deciding if prey was worth the energy. The fifth mini-climax built as Tom Hale entered the weapons wing. At 23, he was the range's newest sniper instructor, recruited straight from the Rangers after a tour that had earned him a Bronze Star. He was supposed to prep for tomorrow's long-range qualification, but he stopped short at the scene before him. "What's going on here?" "Nothing," Knox said quickly. "Just cleaning up a spill." Tom's eyes found Ava track the beer on her shirt, the defensive positioning of the remaining soldiers, the water that was clearly from a mop bucket rather than a spill. His jaw tightened. "Ava, you good?" The use of her first name made Knox and Chen exchange glances. Why did the hotshot sniper instructor know the janitor's name? "I'm fine, Tom. Just finishing up here." But Tom had noticed something else. Something that made him step closer. The way she held the mop, her grip compensated for the tremor in a specific pattern, one he'd seen before. One he'd been taught by a ghost story, a legend among Marine snipers, about an operator who could calculate wind drift in her head faster than a computer, who'd once guided a bullet through a hurricane to save a diplomat's kid. "That's an interesting grip," he said, carefully testing. Ava's good eye flicked to him, and for just a moment, he saw at the acknowledgement the warning. She knew he'd recognized something, and she was asking him to let it go. "Nerve damage," she said simply. "You adapt." The sixth mini-climax arrived as Dalton returned Varma, nowhere in sight. His face was darker now, angry at being dressed down by a junior officer. He needed to reassert control to remind everyone who held power here. "Hale, you're not supposed to be here for another hour. Wanted to check the equipment early, Sergeant. Make sure everything's ready for tomorrow's qual." Dalton's eyes swept between Tom and Ava, sensing something unspoken. "Well, since you're here, might as well help us settle a debate. Cross here claims she knows about weapons, says she doesn't need our help understanding how to properly clean around them." "I never said," Ava started. "So I figured we'd give her a chance to prove it." Dalton moved to the rack, pulled out a Barrett M82A1, the range's .50 caliber beast. It had been modified, custom trigger-enhanced optics, mount extended barrel. He slammed it onto the cleaning bench with enough force to make the scope rattle. "Show us what you know, Janitor." The room went still. Tom stepped forward. "Sergeant, that's not what Instructor Hale, not appropriate. She's the one claiming expertise. Besides, it's unloaded. Perfectly safe. Unless she's scared of a little metal and composite." Ava set down her mop. The seventh mini-climax built as she walked to the bench, every eye tracking her movement. Her tremoring hand reached out, hesitated just above the rifle, and then something changed. The tremor steadied, controlled by the same breathing technique that had once let her hold position for 36 hours in a hide site in Kandahar. Her hands moved. 4 seconds. That's how long it took her to strip the Barrett down to its component parts. Not the basic field strip any grunt learned, but the complete disassembly bolt group separated into its 7 individual pieces, trigger mechanism laid out in sequence, scope mount, detached with the specific quarter turn that prevented thread damage. The room had gone completely silent. Chen's hidden phone captured it all the way. Her tremor vanished when she touched the weapon. The surgical precision of movements that spoke of 10,000 repetitions. The unconscious way she checked each component for wear and damage as she laid them out. "Holy shit," someone whispered. But Ava wasn't done. She began the functions check, her voice falling into the rhythmic cadence of an instructor who'd taught this 100 times. Barrel clear, no obstructions. Bolt face shows normal wear with intolerance. Trigger group. She paused, frowned. Has been modified. Reduced pull weight to approximately 2.3 pounds. Below recommended parameters for standard training use. Safety hazard for inexperienced shooters. Tom's intake of breath was audible. That wasn't just knowledge, that was expertise. The kind that came from living with these weapons, from depending on them when missing meant dying. The 8th mini-climax exploded as Dalton's hand slammed down on the bench. Lucky guess. Anyone could. The fluorescent lights caught the rifle's receiver at just the right angle, revealing something that made Dalton's words die in his throat. Etched into the metal so small you'd miss it, unless you knew to look, was a code. Not a serial number. Those were standard. This was something else. A unit identifier that shouldn't exist on a training rifle. What the fuck? Knox stepped closer, squinting at the marking. "Sarge, is that?" "Just an armorer's mark," Dalton said too quickly, moving to cover the etching with his hand. "Nothing important." But Tom had seen it too, and his face had gone pale. He knew that mark. Everyone in Special Operations knew it, even if they'd never seen it in person. It was a ghost story, a legend, a mark that appeared on weapons that had been used in operations so classified they didn't officially exist. Phantom Ghost, Alpha Series. The 9th mini-climax built, as Chen, still secretly recording, zoomed in on the marking just before Dalton covered it. "Yo, we're going live with this," he whispered to Knox. "This is going to blow up on Mill Talk." The live stream started without fanfare. Female janitor shows up, cocky soldiers with surprise weapon skills. But what the viewers saw immediately wasn't what Chen expected. The comment section exploded, not with mockery, but with recognition. Veterans, real ones, started typing furiously. "Holy fuck, is that the Kandahar configuration? Pause at 023, that's Ghost Protocol disassembly. No fucking way, that's who I think it is. Check her stance when she grips, that's textbook, Walker method." The 10th mini-climax of Part 1 crescendoed as Lieutenant Varma returned. But she wasn't alone. Behind her walked someone whose presence changed the room's entire dynamic. Colonel Whit Rourke, base commander. His face carrying the expression of someone who'd just received very interesting intelligence. "Room attention," Varma barked. Everyone snapped to, except Ava, who as a civilian simply stood respectfully. But Rourke wasn't looking at his soldiers. He was staring at the disassembled Barrett, at the woman standing beside it, with a tremoring hand and a prosthetic eye he now recognized from a medical file he'd read 6 months ago when she'd applied for the custodial position. "Sergeant Dalton." Rourke's voice was dangerously quiet. "Would you care to explain why there's a live stream from this facility showing what appears to be harassment of a civilian contractor?" Chen's phone clattered to the floor. "Sir, we were just—" "I can see what you were just doing, Sergeant. What interests me more is that rifle. Specifically, why a training weapon has markings consistent with Phantom Group equipment." The room's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Phantom Group was a name whispered in intelligence circles, a unit that didn't exist on any official roster, but whose actions had shaped a decade of asymmetric warfare. Their snipers were legends, ghosts who could reach out and touch targets at distances that shouldn't be possible. "Cross," Rourke said, his tone shifting to something almost gentle. "Ava Cross, would you mind showing me your qualification stance?" It wasn't really a request. Ava looked at him for a long moment, something passing between them. understanding perhaps, or resignation. Then she moved. She reassembled the Barrett in 12 seconds flat, despite the tremor, despite the prosthetic eye. But it was when she shouldered the weapon that the room collectively held its breath. Her stance was distinctive weight, distributed in a pattern that looked wrong, until you understood it was designed to compensate for sustained fire in wind conditions that would send most bullets into the next time zone. Her breathing settled into a rhythm that Tom recognized from training videos he'd studied religiously. "That's the Walker method," he breathed, "but enhanced, evolved. That's..." He stopped staring at Ava with something approaching awe. "You're Ghost 6. You're the one who made the Damascus shot." The Damascus shot. Every sniper knew about it, even if the details were classified. 1,500 meters through a sandstorm, threading a bullet between two buildings to eliminate a target holding 3 aid workers hostage. It shouldn't have been possible. The physics said no. But someone had done it. Ava lowered the rifle, set it carefully on the bench. That was a long time ago. 22 months, Rourke corrected. 22 months since Sergeant First Class Ava Cross, call sign Ghost 6, was medically retired after injuries sustained during Operation Copper Sunset. His voice hardened as he looked at his soldiers. 22 months since one of the most decorated snipers in United States military history was told her body could no longer meet the physical requirements for field operations, and approximately 6 minutes since you decided to humiliate her while she mopped your floors. The silence that followed was absolute. Chen's live stream had over 3,000 viewers. Now the comments section. A waterfall of disbelief and recognition. Ghost 6 is alive. My CO said she died in Syria. That's the woman who held off 60 insurgents for my convoy. Check the VA records. Medals of honor aren't public, but the count matches. Dalton's face had gone from red to white. Sir, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know, Rourke said coldly, because you didn't bother to see past your assumptions. You saw a janitor with a tremor and decided she was less than you. Tell me, Sergeant, do you know what causes that tremor? No, sir. Nerve damage from pulling 7 pieces of shrapnel out of her own shoulder so she could maintain position and provide cover for a medical evacuation. She stayed in position for 6 more hours, making shots with a compromised nervous system that you couldn't make on your best day. The weight of it settled over the room like a burial shroud. Knox had backed against the wall. Chen was trying to delete the live stream, but it had already been screen recorded hundreds of times. The internet never forgot. Cross, Rourke continued, I believe Sergeant Dalton owes you an apology. That's not necessary, sir. Ava's voice remained level professional. I'm just here to do my job. Your job. Rourke smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. About that. Lieutenant Varma, what's the qualification requirement for our long-range instructors? 500 meters, sir. Consistent grouping within 6 inches. Cross, do you think you could still make that shot? The question hung in the air. Tom watched Ava's good eye track to the window, calculating distance, wind speed, angle. Even now, even damaged, her mind was running the equations. The tremor affects my stability, she said carefully, and the prosthetic impacts depth perception at variable ranges. That wasn't what I asked. A beat of silence. Then, yes, sir, I could make that shot. The final mini-climax of Part 1 erupted as Dalton grabbed the Barrett, shoved it into Ava's hands with enough force to make her stumble. Prove it. Prove you're not just another washed-up has-been trading on Old Glory. The livestream audience went wild. Someone's about to get schooled. R.I.P. Dalton's career. Ghost 6 with nerve damage versus healthy sergeant taking all bets. Ava looked at the rifle in her hands, then at Dalton. Something shifted in her expression. Not anger, not pride, but something older and more dangerous. Purpose. "All right, Sergeant. Let's go to the range." As they filed out into the twilight, heading for the 500-meter lanes, Tom fell into step beside her. "You don't have to do this." "Yes," she said quietly. "I do. Not for them. Not even for me. But there's a reason I'm here, Tom. A reason that rifle has those markings. Someone wanted me to see it. Someone wanted this moment to happen." "What are you talking about?" She paused at the door to the range, looking out at the targets barely visible in the dying light. "That rifle shouldn't be here. It's not from this armory. Someone placed it knowing eventually I'd see it. Knowing what would happen when I did." "Who would do that?" Ava's prosthetic eye caught the last rays of sunlight gleaming like steel. "Someone who needs Ghost 6 to wake up. The question is why?" The door opened, and 50 people followed them onto the range phones' ready careers on the line, about to witness something that would reshape everything they thought they knew about strength, skill, and the price of service. The janitor they'd mocked was about to show them what legends looked like when they chose to stop hiding. The twilight air hit them like a physical presence as they stepped onto the outdoor range thick with humidity that would play hell with ballistics. The 500-meter lanes stretched into growing darkness, target boards barely visible as automatic lights flickered to life along the firing line. Ava felt the weight of the Barrett in her hands, muscle memory fighting against damaged nerves, as 50 people formed a semicircle behind her. "Lane 4, Dalton commanded, his voice carrying forced authority that couldn't quite hide his uncertainty. "Standard qualification target. 5 shots, 2 minutes. All must be within 6 inches for a pass." He paused, a cruel smile forming. Of course, that's for instructors with 2 working eyes and steady hands. Chen had his phone up again, the live stream title updated. Ghost 6 returns. Legendary sniper versus impossible odds. The viewer count had jumped to 8,000 comments, streaming faster than anyone could read. Lieutenant Varma stepped forward with an official range tablet. "This needs to be documented properly if we're conducting an impromptu qualification." Her fingers moved across the screen, entering codes that would make this official, permanent, undeniable. "Cross, do you accept the standard parameters?" "No," Ava said quietly, and the first mini-climax rippled through the crowd. "Those parameters are for perfect conditions. The winds gusting at 12 knots with variable direction humidity is affecting air density and the light." She glanced at the dying sun. "We'll lose ambient visibility in approximately 6 minutes. "Making excuses already," Knox called out, earning nervous laughter from some of the younger soldiers. "No, Corporal. I'm saying 5 shots won't prove anything. 1 shot. That's all I need." She turned to Colonel Rourke, who stood watching with an expression that gave nothing away. "1 shot, but I choose the parameters." Tom Hale felt his pulse quicken. This was beyond confidence. This was the kind of certainty that came from absolute knowledge of one's capabilities, damaged or not. "What parameters?" Ava walked to the firing line, her gait slightly uneven. Another thing they hadn't noticed before. Subtle compensation for injuries that ran deeper than the visible tremor. She pointed to the 500-meter target, then passed it to the barely visible 800-meter board used for advanced sniper training. Through the center of the 500, into the X-ring of the 800. 1 bullet, 2 targets. The second mini-climax exploded in disbelief. "That's impossible," Dalton sputtered. "The bullet would destabilize after the first impact. The trajectory would deviate approximately 3 degrees based on the composition of the target board, assuming standard paper over composite backing. The 800-meter target is offset by 8 feet horizontally, which means..." Ava's good eye tracked the space, calculating. "I need to hit the 500 at a specific point that will create the proper deflection angle, accounting for wind drift. bullet deformation, and energy loss. The sweet spot is approximately 2 inches right of dead center, 1 inch below the X-ring. The live stream chat went insane. She's doing math that would break a computer. This is some Matrix-level shit. No way this is real. My physics professor just joined the stream and he's freaking out. Colonel Rourke pulled out his own phone, typed something quickly. Within seconds, Tom noticed several high-ranking officers appearing on the range's observation deck. Word was spreading through the base command structure. Like wildfire, something extraordinary was about to happen. The third mini-climax built as Ava began her preparation ritual movements that transformed her from a custodian with a medical discharge into something else entirely. She set the Barrett on the bench, pulled a small case from her pocket. The nerve stabilizer medication she took every 4 hours, precisely timed. But instead of taking it, she set it aside. "You need your meds," Tom said, concerned. "No, the tremor is predictable. The medication makes it random, smaller, but inconsistent. I can work with predictable." She lay prone, and the transformation was complete. Every unnecessary muscle relaxed her breathing, dropping into a rhythm that seemed to slow time itself. The tremor in her right hand continued, but she positioned her grip to use it, letting the micro-movements become part of her natural point of aim adjustment. "This is fucking crazy," someone whispered, but the sound carried in the evening stillness. Chen's camera zoomed in on her face, catching the moment her prosthetic eye synchronized with her natural one, a technological marvel that most people didn't know existed. Military-grade enhancement that cost more than most people's houses. The iris dilated and contracted independently, feeding different light spectrums to her brain. "Wind reading," she said calmly. 12 knots, gustings to 15 northwest. Tom responded automatically, falling into the spotter's role. "Wrong." The fourth mini-climax hit as she contradicted him without hesitation. "You're reading the automated station. Feel the air. It's cycling 12 drop to 8, gust to 14, not 15. 23-second pattern. The shot window is in the lull between 8 and the gust." Tom knelt beside her, actually felt the wind on his skin counted. She was right. How could she know that from prone position? Range temp, 78 degrees. 76.3 at target height. The concrete is cooling faster than the air above it. Creates a minor mirage effect that will make the target appear approximately 1/2 minute of angle higher than actual. The crowd had gone completely silent. Even Dalton had stopped sneering, watching something he didn't understand but couldn't deny. This wasn't showing off. This was expertise so deep it looked like magic to those who didn't comprehend it. Ava's breathing changed, dropping into something beyond calm. Between heartbeats, the tremor stopped for exactly 1.3 seconds her window. She'd learned to find it to live in that space where damage didn't matter. "Commencing countdown," Varma announced, her voice carrying official weight. "Shooter ready." But the fifth mini-climax erupted as Ava suddenly rolled away from the rifle, her hand moving to her ear. Everyone saw it. Then the nearly invisible earpiece, military-spec communication gear that civilians shouldn't have. "What the hell?" Rourke stepped forward. "Cross, are you wearing unauthorized comms?" She pulled the earpiece out, held it up for inspection. "It's been dead for 2 years, sir. I just forgot I was wearing it. Habit." But Tom saw the lie in the micro-expression that crossed her face. The earpiece wasn't dead. Someone had just said something to her. Something that made her reconsider the shot. "Problem, Cross?" Dalton asked, hope creeping back into his voice. "Getting cold feet." "No, Sergeant." She returned to position, but something had changed. Her movements were sharper now, more urgent. "Just remembering something. The last time I made a shot like this, people died who shouldn't have." The sixth mini-climax built as she elaborated, her voice carrying in the still air. "Operation Copper Sunset. You've all heard the sanitized version, heroic last stand, save the convoy, medals and glory. What they don't tell you is that my shot gave away our position. The enemy had a mortar team we didn't know about. My spotter, Marcus Webb, 24 years old, had twins he'd never met, took shrapnel that was meant for me. He bled out while I kept shooting, because that's what we do. We complete the mission. The live stream comments shifted tone. Jesus Christ. This got real dark real fast. Someone check on her. This doesn't feel right anymore. Is she having a breakdown? But Colonel Rourke recognized what was happening. This wasn't breakdown. This was preparation. Elite operators had different ways of entering the zone. Some went cold, some went hot. Ghost 6 apparently went into memory, using guilt and grief as focusing tools. Webb's twins would be 3 now. She continued, settling back into position. Their names are Sarah and Marcus Jr. I send their mother money every month for my disability check. She doesn't know it's from me. The 7th mini-climax arrived as Tom made a decision. He lay down beside her in the proper spotter's position. Then we make this shot for him, for Webb. Something shifted in Ava's expression, surprise perhaps, or recognition. You don't have to. Wind cycling down, he interrupted, reading the pattern she'd identified. 8 seconds to optimal window. She nodded once, accepting his help. Her breathing dropped back into that impossible rhythm. The live stream viewer count hit 15,000. Someone had shared it on a veterans forum, and now operators from around the world were watching, recognizing something in her posture, her preparation, her pain. 5 seconds. Tom counted. 4. The 8th mini-climax exploded as Dalton suddenly stepped forward. This is ridiculous. She's stalling, making excuses, telling sob stories. The Barrett spoke. The sound cracked across the range like thunder, but Ava was already rolling away from the weapon, standing in one fluid movement despite her injuries. The range fell silent except for the echo bouncing off distant buildings. Check targets, Rourke ordered, his voice tight, with something that might have been excitement or disbelief. 2 range officers jogged down range with spotting scopes. The first stopped at the 500-meter board, called back. Hit 2 inches right of center, 1 inch below X-ring, exactly as called. The second officer reached the 800-meter target, raised his scope, and went very still. The 9th mini-climax stretched as he checked again, then a third time. X-ring. Dead center. How the fuck is that possible? The range erupted, not in cheers, but in something more profound, a collective intake of breath, the sound of 50 people reassessing everything they thought they knew. Chen's livestream exploded. Confirmed Ghost 6 is back. Physics professors are losing their minds in chat. The DoD just entered the stream. Someone call Guinness. This is a world record. But Ava wasn't celebrating. She stood perfectly still, looking at the Barrett on the bench. Her hand went to where the earpiece had been, and Tom caught her whispered words. Message received. E. The 10th mini-climax, built as Lieutenant Varma approached with the tablet, showing the official recording. Cross this needs to be submitted to Range Command. This is extraordinary. You've just exceeded every sniper qualification standard we have, despite documented disabilities that should make this impossible. It's not impossible, Ava said quietly. It's just physics and practice. The tremor creates a predictable pattern. The prosthetic eye actually gives me an advantage in certain light conditions. It can see heat differentials that indicate wind patterns. Every weakness can become a strength if you understand it well enough. Don't! Dalton's voice cut through the night, desperate now. Don't act like this is normal. You're not normal. You're a freak who... The 11th mini-climax detonated as Tom moved faster than anyone expected from the laid-back instructor. His hand caught Dalton's throat, not squeezing, but positioned perfectly to do so if needed. Finish that sentence, Sergeant, I dare you. Stand down, Instructor Hale, Rourke commanded, but there was no heat in it. Tom released Dalton, who stumbled backward, his face red with humiliation and rage. Knox and Chen had already distanced themselves, recognizing the losing side of this confrontation. Sir, Varma said, looking at her tablet with growing concern. We have a problem. The live stream has gone viral. 30,000 viewers and climbing. Base Public Affairs is asking what our response should be. The 12th mini-climax arrived as Rourke smiled a genuine expression that transformed his usually stern face. Our response: we tell the truth. One of America's finest warriors was disrespected in our facility, and she responded with grace and skill that should humble us all. He turned to Dalton. Sergeant, you're relieved of training duties pending a full review of your conduct. Report to my office at 0600. Sir, That's an order, Sergeant. As Dalton left his career effectively over, the remaining crowd began to disperse. But something was happening on Chen's stream that made him gasp. Guys, look at this. The comments had shifted from amazement to something else. Why is that rifle there? Someone check the serial number on that Barrett. That's not standard issue, look at the modifications. Phantom ghost markers aren't supposed to exist anymore. This was staged. Someone wanted this to happen. The 13th mini-climax, built as Colonel Rourke examined the Barrett more closely, using his phone's flashlight to illuminate the markings. His expression darkened. This rifle is from a lot that was supposedly destroyed in Syria 2 years ago. How is it here? Ava's hand trembled, not from nerve damage, but from recognition. Because someone wanted me to find it. Someone who knew I'd react, who knew it would cause a scene, who knew I'd have to prove myself. Why? Tom asked. To wake me up, to make me visible again. She looked at the darkness beyond the range lights. The question is, who needs Ghost 6 badly enough to orchestrate this? The final mini-climax of Part 2 exploded as her phone buzzed the first time anyone had heard it make a sound. She pulled it out, looked at the screen, and her face went pale beneath her composed expression. The text was simple. Performance acceptable. Your spotter lives. Vienna 72 hours. Come alone, or he dies like Webb should have. She turned the phone so Rourke could see it. His face darkened with fury. Someone has your spotter. But you said Webb died in... Not Webb. My current spotter. The one nobody knows about. The one I've been working with during my retirement. She looked at Tom, and he saw something in her expression that chilled him. Not fear, but the cold calculation of a predator whose cubs had been threatened. I haven't been mopping floors for 6 months. I've been hunting, and now my prey knows exactly where I am. The live stream was still running, still capturing everything. Chen tried to end it, but the app crashed. His phone screen displayed a message that made everyone who saw it step back. Keep recording. The world needs to see what happens next. As if on cue, every phone on the range buzzed simultaneously. The same message appeared on every screen, a photo of a man bound and bloodied but alive with a timestamp from 6 hours ago. Below it, text that made Ava's tremor worsen. Ghost 6 has 72 hours to reach Vienna. Every hour she delays, he loses a finger. Stream stays live or he loses more than that. The janitor has been activated. Let the games begin. The range lights suddenly cut out, plunging them into darkness. When emergency lighting kicked in seconds later, Ava was already moving the Barrett cradled in her arms like she'd never let it go. Where are you going? Rourke demanded. To pack. I have a plane to catch. You can't just... This is clearly a trap. We need to involve proper channels, get authorization. She turned back, and in the harsh emergency lighting, they could all see it. Not the janitor, not the broken soldier, but Ghost 6 in all her terrible purpose. Colonel, with all due respect, proper channels got my first spotter killed. I won't lose another one. Not to bureaucracy, not to protocol, and definitely not to whoever thinks they can use my guilt as a weapon. I'm coming with you, Tom said immediately. No. The message said alone. The message also said, keep streaming. He countered, holding up Chen's phone, which was somehow still broadcasting despite Chen's attempts to shut it down. 48,000 viewers and climbing. You're not going dark on this one ghost. The whole world is watching. She looked at the phone at the viewer count that kept climbing at the comments flooding in from operators, veterans, and civilians alike, all of them watching, waiting, witnessing. Fine. But we do this my way. As she walked off the range, the Barrett still in her arms, Tom noticed something that made his blood run cold. The tremor in her hand had stopped completely. Not in the practiced windows she'd learned to find, but completely, permanently. Ghost 6 wasn't just awake. She was hunting. And whatever had taken her spotter had just made the worst mistake of its existence. The base armory's fluorescent lights hummed as Ava moved through the weapons cage with purpose that made the attending sergeant step aside without question. She wasn't taking much, the Barrett, obviously, plus a Glock 19 she'd personally maintained during her custodial duties, knowing this day might come. Tom watched her work, noting how her tremor had returned, but seemed controlled now, channeled into efficient movement. You knew, he said, not a question but a statement. You knew something like this would happen. That's why you took the janitor job. I suspected. She checked the Glock's action, the metallic slide creating the first mini-climax as it snapped forward with lethal finality. 6 months ago, someone started leaving messages. Little things, a photo of Webb's grave with fresh flowers I didn't leave. A spent shell casing from Damascus on my doorstep. Someone was saying they knew who I was, what I'd done. Chen's phone, still impossibly streaming, despite his attempts to stop it, captured every word. The viewer count had hit 60,000. Comments flooded in faster than anyone could read, but one kept repeating, "Who is her current spotter?" Colonel Rourke entered the armory, his face grim. "Cross, I've been on the phone with JSOC. They want you to stand down. Let them handle this." "JSOC doesn't know what this is about," Ava replied, packing ammunition with practiced ease. "They think it's about me, about Ghost 6. It's not. It's about something that happened after my discharge. Something off the books." The second mini-climax built as she pulled out a sealed envelope from her bag, one she'd apparently been carrying for months. She handed it to Rourke. "If I don't make contact in 96 hours, open that. It contains everything, names, dates, operations that never happened." "Cross, what have you been doing?" She looked at him directly, her prosthetic eye reflecting the overhead lights in an unsettling way. "Hunting war criminals who escaped justice because they had classified protection. My spotter, David Park, he's former NSA, helped me track them through digital footprints they thought were erased." Tom's intake of breath was audible. "You've been running unauthorized operations on U.S. soil." "No, I've been taking out the trash that the system protected. 7 targets in 6 months. All clean, all looking like accidents or natural causes. Until someone noticed the pattern." The third mini-climax erupted as Chen's phone suddenly spoke with a voice that wasn't Chen's, deep, electronic, masked. "Tell them about Belgrade Ghost." Everyone froze. The phone had been hijacked, turned into a two-way communication device. Ava's hand moved instinctively to her weapon before stopping. "Belgrade was necessary," she said to the phone, knowing whoever controlled it could hear her. 3 children died in Belgrade because of your necessary action," the voice continued. "Their father was a monster, yes, but they didn't deserve to lose him that way." "I didn't know about the children." "Lies. You always know everything. Every wind pattern, every variable, every consequence. You knew, and you took the shot anyway. The live stream chat exploded with speculation and horror. This wasn't just about a kidnapped spotter anymore. This was about something darker, more complex. The fourth mini-climax built as Varma entered the armory, her tablet showing something that made her face pale. "Colonel, you need to see this. Someone's uploading files to the stream, classified files about Operation Copper Sunset." The documents appeared on every phone watching the stream, redactions mysteriously removed. They showed the real story. Ava's shot hadn't just given away their position. She'd been ordered to take it by someone who knew about the mortar team, who'd wanted Webb killed because he'd discovered something he shouldn't have. "Jesus Christ," Tom breathed. "You were set up. Webb's death wasn't collateral damage, it was the objective." Ava's tremor worsened for a moment before she controlled it. "I figured that out 3 months after his death. Started investigating. Found a network of officers selling tactical information to private military companies. Webb had evidence that would have exposed them all." The fifth mini-climax hit as the electronic voice laughed, a sound that made everyone in the room step back. "And now you understand, viewers. Ghost 6 isn't a hero. She's a vigilante, a killer who decided she was judge, jury, and executioner. Your precious sniper has been murdering people based on her own sense of justice." "They were war criminals," Ava said firmly. "Prove it." "Oh wait, you can't. You killed them all before they could stand trial." The viewer count kept climbing. 70,000, 80,000. Military personnel from around the world were logging in, recognizing something significant was happening. Comments ranged from support to condemnation, but everyone kept watching. The sixth mini-climax arrived as Ava finished packing, shouldering her bag with the same precision she'd shown on the range. "Whoever you are, you have David Park. That's all that matters now. Vienna, 72 hours. I'll come." "No, Ghost. Not Vienna. That was misdirection for your military friends." The voice paused, savoring the moment. "Moscow. You have 48 hours now, not 72. The clock started when you took the shot on the range." Rourke immediately protested. "Moscow. That's impossible. She can't enter Russia, not with her history." "She can if she uses the identity I've prepared for her," the voice interrupted. "Check your personal email, Ghost. Everything you need is there. Passport, visa, even a return ticket you won't be using." The seventh mini-climax built as Tom stepped forward. "I'm still coming with her." "No. She comes alone, or Park dies." "However," the voice paused dramatically, "the stream continues. The world will watch Ghost 6's final mission. Every step, every decision, every kill if necessary. The phone will remain active. Try to disable it. Park dies. Try to go dark. Park dies. Disappoint the viewers. Well, you understand." Chen finally found his voice. "This is insane. You can't just—" His phone sparked a small electrical discharge that made him drop it. When Tom picked it up, it was somehow still functioning, still streaming now, showing a split screen, the armory on one side, and David Park on the other. He was conscious, but clearly in pain, his left hand already missing its pinky finger. "That's for making me wait," the voice said casually. The eighth mini-climax exploded as Ava moved faster than her injuries should have allowed, grabbing Chen's phone and speaking directly into it. "You've made your point. I'm coming. No more delays, no more fingers. I'll play your game. Our game, Ghost. Our game. And the rules are simple. Complete the mission I give you in Moscow and Park lives. Fail, refuse, or bore our audience, and he dies piece by piece. The viewers will judge your performance. Think of it as American Idol, but with actual consequences." The stream's comments section had become a battlefield of moral arguments. "This is terrorism. She deserves this for playing God. Save Park. Let the criminals burn. Someone call the FBI. FBI can't touch Moscow. The 9th mini-climax arrived as Colonel Rourke made a decision that would end his career. He pulled out his own phone, made a call. This is Colonel Whit Rourke, authorization code Tango 77. I need a military transport to Ramstein Air Base, Germany. Humanitarian mission priority 1. Sir, Varma protested, you can't. I'm not sending her to Moscow. I'm sending her to Germany for medical evaluation. What she does after she lands is not my responsibility. He looked at Ava. You have friends at Ramstein. They'll help you get to Moscow without official involvement. This is treason, Varma said quietly. This is loyalty, Rourke corrected. Something Sergeant Dalton could learn about. The 10th mini-climax built as Tom grabbed his own gear bag already packed. I'm going to Ramstein too. Separate flight. I won't follow you to Moscow, but I'll be close enough if you need extraction. The voice said you come alone. I won't violate that. But I'll be in Europe monitoring the stream like everyone else. You're not as alone as you think, Ghost. Before she could protest further, something extraordinary happened. Every phone in the armory chimed with notifications, not from the hijacker, but from viewers. Donations were pouring in through various platforms, all directed to a fund someone had set up. The messages were consistent for Ghost 6's mission. Webb's sacrifice won't be forgotten. Save Park. Justice for the victims. In 30 seconds, over $100,000 had been raised. The 11th mini-climax crystallized as the electronic voice returned, clearly surprised. How touching. The world wants to crowdfund a vigilante. Very well, Ghost. Use their money. You'll need it in Moscow. Your target. Oh, this will be interesting. Your target is Nikolai Volkov. The armory went silent. Even the live stream comments paused. Nikolai Volkov was untouchable. Russian intelligence connected to every major criminal organization in Eastern Europe, protected by layers of security that made him effectively immortal. Volkov was Webb's real killer, the voice continued. He bought the information about the mortar team. He paid for your spotter's death. And now, Ghost, you're going to kill him for me. On camera. For the world to see. Why? Ava's voice was steady, despite the magnitude of what was being asked. What's your connection to this? My connection. The voice laughed again. I'm the one who sold him the information. I'm the officer who got Webb killed, and now I need Volkov dead before he can testify about our arrangement. You see, Ghost Russian intelligence has finally decided he's a liability. They're planning to arrest him in 60 hours. If he talks, I'm finished. So you're going to silence him first. The 12th mini-climax hit as the pieces fell into place. You're setting me up to take the fall for an assassination that you need done. If I succeed, I'll be hunted by every intelligence agency in the world. If I fail, Park dies. Exactly. And the beautiful part, the world is watching. You can't claim innocence. You can't disappear. Every move you make is documented. You'll either die completing this mission or spend your life running. Either way, I win. Unless I find you first. Oh, Ghost, you won't. Because I'm already dead. Officially anyway. Killed in action 2 years ago in Syria. A hero's funeral, full honors. My widow even got the flag. The 13th mini-climax arrived as recognition dawned on Ava's face. Martinez, Colonel Robert Martinez, you were the intelligence officer for Copper Sunset. Was. Now I'm just a ghost like you, except I'm better at it. I've been planning this for 2 years, Ghost. Every detail, every contingency. You took 7 of my clients in 6 months, cost me millions in lost revenue. Now you're going to eliminate my biggest liability, and then you're going to disappear forever. The stream exploded with activity. Someone had found Colonel Martinez's obituary, posted it for everyone to see. Killed in action. Syria 2 years ago. Except, obviously he wasn't dead. Chen, finally finding his courage, spoke up. This is being recorded. Everyone knows who you are now. You can't I? I'm dead. Remember, officially, this conversation never happened. The voice you're hearing is synthesized. The signals are bounced through 17 countries. Even the NSA couldn't track this. The 14th mini-climax built as Ava made her decision. Fine. I'll go to Moscow. I'll find Volkov. But not to kill him. What? You heard me. I'll go. But I'm not your weapon anymore. You want to expose yourself by killing Park on a live stream? Go ahead. But I'm done being manipulated. Done being aimed at targets chosen by corrupt officers. You'll let Park die. Park knew the risks when he joined me. He'd rather die than see me become a weapon for someone like you again. The pause that followed was electric. Even the live stream comments stopped everyone waiting to see what would happen next. Then David Park's voice, weak but clear, came through the speaker. Ava's right. Don't do it. Let me die. Don't become his tool. The final mini-climax exploded as Martinez's voice returned, angry. Now the electronic masking slipping to reveal traces of a Texas accent. You sanctimonious bitch! You think you're better than me? You've killed more people than I ever did. I killed war criminals. You killed a good man for money. We'll see how principled you are when I start sending Park's pieces to his mother. Oh, didn't he tell you she's still alive? Dementia ward in Seattle. Still asks about her boy every day. Ava's prosthetic eye whirred as it refocused, and Tom saw her decision crystallize. 48 hours to reach Moscow. Any specific location. Red Square. Midnight. There's a hotel reservation under your false name, Marina Fedorov. Everything else you need is in the email. The transmission cut, leaving Chen's phone showing only the live stream, now at 90,000 viewers and climbing. The donation fund had passed $500,000. Ava turned to leave, but Rourke stopped her. Cross, you can't trust anything Martinez says. I don't. But Park is real. His danger is real. And Volkov needs to be stopped regardless. She looked at the phone, still streaming everything. Besides, the world is watching now. Whatever happens in Moscow, there will be witnesses. As she walked toward the armory exit, Tom called after her. What's the real plan, Ghost? She paused at the door, turned back with something that might have been a smile. Martinez thinks he's forcing me to kill Volkov. But what if Volkov has information about Martinez's network? What if instead of killing him, I extract him? Get him to safety where he can testify? That's insane. You'd have both Russian intelligence and Martinez hunting you. They already are. At least this way, Park lives, Volkov talks, and Martinez's entire network gets exposed. She looked directly at the streaming phone. The world wants justice. They're about to see what that really costs. She disappeared into the night, leaving them all staring at the phone that continued streaming, showing her walking across the base toward a waiting vehicle. The comment count scrolled endlessly. Moscow in 48 hours. This is better than any movie. Ghost 6 versus the world. Someone needs to stop this. Someone needs to help her. Tom grabbed his gear and headed for the door. Where's the nearest flight to Ramstein? You can't seriously be... Varma started. I'm not letting her do this alone. Stream or no stream, she needs backup. I'm coming too, Chen said, suddenly surprising everyone. This is my fault. My stream started this. I need to help fix it. Rourke looked at the young soldier who'd spent the evening mocking Ava, now ready to risk everything to help her. Chen, this could end your career. Respectfully, sir, fuck my career. That woman's about to take on Russian intelligence, a rogue colonel, and God knows what else to save one man's life. The least I can do is hold the camera steady. As they prepared to leave, following Ghost 6 into something that would certainly end badly for most of them, the live stream showed her boarding a military transport. She looked directly at the camera, knowing thousands were watching, and spoke 4 words that would echo through the internet forever. Let the hunt begin. The transport's doors closed, engines roared to life, and Ghost 6 disappeared into the night sky, heading for a confrontation 2 years in the making. Behind her, an army of volunteers began mobilizing, some heading to Europe, others working their networks, all united by witnessing something they'd never seen before. A soldier who refused to stop fighting even when the war was rigged against her. The tremor in her hand was gone now, replaced by something far more dangerous: absolute certainty. Martinez had made one crucial mistake. He'd given her a target, a timeline, and a watching world. Ghost 6 was done being aimed. Now she was aiming herself. The military transport touched down at Ramstein Air Base, 12 hours after leaving Crescent Bay, the German dawn casting long shadows across the tarmac. Ava hadn't slept, instead studying the documents Martinez had sent. Marina Fedorov's identity was thorough, too thorough. Russian passport, 5 years of digital history, even social media accounts with hundreds of posts. Someone had been preparing this trap for a long time. The first mini-climax erupted as she stepped off the plane to find not the empty tarmac she'd expected, but a gathering of 30 people, military and civilian, different nationalities, all holding phones, showing the same thing, the live stream that had now reached 200,000 viewers. They'd come to help, drawn by something in her story that transcended borders and regulations. Ghost 6. A German Special Forces officer stepped forward, offering his hand. Klaus Richter, KSK. I was in Kandahar when you made that shot through the sandstorm. You saved my unit. We're here to repay that debt. Before she could respond, Chen's phone, still streaming from her pocket, buzzed with Martinez's voice. How touching. A fan club. Should I start removing Park's fingers now, or wait until you're done with the meet and greet? I'm moving, Ava said curtly, but Klaus blocked her path. You need resources. Moscow isn't Kandahar, you can't go in blind. He handed her a sealed envelope. Safe house addresses, weapon caches, extraction routes. All unofficial, all deniable, all yours. The second mini-climax built as more people stepped forward, each offering something: euros, encrypted phones, tactical gear. A French intelligence officer slipped her a drive containing Volkov's known locations. A Polish hacker handed her a device that would scramble surveillance cameras for 30 seconds at a time. The live stream chat exploded with coordinates, information, offers of assistance from Moscow itself. This is insane, someone in the crowd muttered. We're helping someone conduct an unauthorized operation in Russia. No, Klaus corrected, his voice caring. We're helping a soldier save an innocent man from a traitor who's supposed to be dead. The third mini-climax arrived as Tom's plane landed, and he jogged across the tarmac, still in civilian clothes. Ghost transport to Moscow leaves in 2 hours. Private flight cargo manifest says agricultural equipment. How did you? The internet, Ava. Your stream has turned into the world's largest intelligence network. Someone in Russian customs already flagged your Marina Fedorov passport. You're expected. Martinez's voice crackled through again. Wonderful. A conspiracy of idiots. Every person helping you is now on my list. When this is over. Ava interrupted, speaking directly to the phone. You'll be exposed or dead. Those are your only options now. Big talk from someone walking into my trap. Check the stream, Ghost. Check what your viewers are seeing now. The fourth mini-climax hit, as the live stream split one half still showing Ava, the other showing David Park. But now there was someone else in frame with him, a woman in her 60s, confused and frightened. Park's mother pulled from her dementia care facility. "You son of a bitch," Ava breathed. Language ghost. The world is watching. Mrs. Park here doesn't understand what's happening, but she knows her boy is hurt. Should I explain to her why? Should I tell her about all the laws her son broke helping you hunt people? The crowd around Ava grew silent. Everyone watching the stream as Mrs. Park reached for her son with trembling hands, trying to comfort him despite not understanding where they were or why he was bleeding. The fifth mini-climax built as David Park spoke, his voice stronger than before, despite his obvious pain. "Mom, it's okay. Remember what you used to tell me about doing the right thing, even when it's hard." "David." His mother's voice was fragile, confused. "Are you in trouble? Did you not eat your vegetables again?" "Despite everything." Park managed a laugh. "Yeah, Mom, didn't eat my vegetables. Ava's going to fix it, though. She always fixes things." "Ava, is she your girlfriend? You should marry her, David. Don't wait like your father and I did." The moment of humanity in the middle of horror made the watching crowd react viscerally. Someone started live streaming from another angle, then another. Within minutes, Ava was surrounded by dozens of cameras, all streaming to different platforms, creating a web of documentation that couldn't be stopped by shutting down one feed. The sixth mini-climax crystallized as Klaus made a decision that would end his military career. Ghost 6. "I'm coming to Moscow. Not officially, not in uniform, but I'm coming." "Me too," said the French intelligence officer. "And me," added the Polish hacker. Within seconds, 15 people had volunteered to enter Russia illegally to support her mission. The live stream comments went wild. "This is becoming an international incident. They can't all go, it'll start a war. Someone needs to stop Martinez. This is bigger than one mission now." Tom stepped close to Ava, speaking quietly enough that the stream wouldn't catch it. "You've started something here. This isn't just about Park anymore." "I know." She looked at the assembled volunteers, military professionals ready to throw away their careers for a principle. "But they can't come. Martinez will kill Park and his mother if I don't come alone." The seventh mini-climax arrived as Chen appeared, having somehow acquired a professional camera rig. "Then we don't physically follow you, but the stream continues and we coordinate from here. Real-time intelligence satellite imagery, digital support. You go in alone, but you're never actually alone." Martinez's electronic laugh echoed from the phone. "How poetic. Ghost 6 and her digital army. Fine. Bring your virtual support. It won't matter once you're in Moscow. Volkov has survived 12 assassination attempts. You think you can succeed where professionals failed?" "I'm not trying to assassinate him," Ava said, clearly knowing the admission would complicate everything. "I'm going to extract him." The eighth mini-climax exploded as Martinez's voice turned sharp with rage. "What?" "You heard me. Volkov has information about your network, about Webb's death, about all of it. I'm going to get him out of Russia and into protective custody. He'll testify about everything." Then Park dies. His mother dies. Everyone who helped you will be protected by the fact that the world is watching. You kill them on stream, you become the most wanted man on the planet. Even your dead status won't protect you. Bam! The crowd around her had grown to 50 people now, base personnel, abandoning their posts to witness history. Someone had set up a tactical operations center in a nearby hangar, complete with satellite feeds and communication arrays. The donation fund had passed $2 million. The ninth mini-climax, built as a new voice, joined the stream, older accented amused. "This is fascinating entertainment, but perhaps we should discuss reality. Everyone froze. The voice was unmistakable to anyone in intelligence circles, Nikolai Volkov himself, somehow hijacking the stream from Moscow. "Mr. Volkov," Ava said carefully, "I wasn't expecting—" "Of course you weren't. Martinez thinks he controls this game, but he's always been a fool. I know about his plan Ghost 6. I know about the trap. I even know where he's hiding. Or did you think I survived this long without keeping tabs on everyone who might want me dead?" Martinez's voice cut in, no longer electronic, the mask slipping in his panic. "Volkov, you son of a bitch. Ah, there's the real voice. Texas. Yes, Fort Hood. I'd guess. The accent is distinctive." Volkov's laugh was cold. "Ghost 6, I have a proposition. You're right that I have information about Martinez's network. I also have 48 hours before Russian intelligence arrests me. So here's my offer. You help me disappear, and I'll give you everything. Webb's real killer, the complete network, even Martinez's current location." The 10th mini-climax arrived as Park's voice joined the conversation. "Don't trust him, Ava. He's playing his own game." "Of course I am," Volkov agreed easily. "But my game aligns with yours. Martinez needs me dead. You need me alive. Russian intelligence needs me arrested. We all have different goals, but only Ghost 6 and I can both win." "What about Park and his mother?" "I'll have them released the moment you reach Moscow. My people are already moving toward Martinez's location. He thinks he's hidden, but he's been under surveillance for 6 months. I knew this day would come." The 11th mini-climax exploded as Martinez's voice returned desperate now. "Everyone listening understand this Volkov is a monster. He's killed hundreds. He sold weapons to terrorists, information to the highest bidder. Ghost 6 would be saving him, protecting him. Is that the justice you wanted to see?" The stream's chat became a war zone of moral arguments. Save Park, forget Volkov. Justice means trials, not execution. Some people don't deserve saving. Ghost 6 has to choose the lesser evil. This is all insane. Klaus stepped forward, addressing the stream directly. "For everyone watching, understand something. This isn't about choosing between good and evil anymore. This is about stopping a corrupt network that killed American soldiers for profit. Volkov is a tool, nothing more." The 12th mini-climax built as Ava made her decision, speaking to both men simultaneously. "Volkov, I'll meet you, but not Red Square. Too exposed, too obvious. You choose the location somewhere you feel safe. Martinez, if you hurt Park or his mother before I get there, I'll hunt you for the rest of my life. And now that the world knows you're alive, that won't be a long hunt. You're making a mistake, Ghost. Volkov will betray you the moment." The transmission cut suddenly, replaced by an emergency alert on every phone in the hangar. Russian military channels had just gone active, massive troop movements in Moscow, all converging on Red Square. "It's a setup," Tom said immediately. "Russian intelligence knows about the meeting. They're going to arrest everyone who shows up." The 13th mini-climax arrived, as Volkov's voice returned urgent now. "Ghost 6, change of plans. They've accelerated my arrest timeline. I have 6 hours, not 48. Can you reach Moscow in time?" "The transport leaves in 90 minutes. Not fast enough. But there's a military flight leaving in 10 minutes. Medical evacuation to Belarus. Then you can cross into Russia by car. I'm sending coordinates for a warehouse in the industrial district. My people will meet you there." Chen pulled up the flight manifest on his tablet. "That's a real flight. German military heading to Minsk. But you'd need official authorization." The 14th mini-climax crystallized as Colonel Rourke's voice joined the stream, calling from Crescent Bay. "Ghost 6, You're now temporarily reinstated as a military consultant for medical evaluation. Lieutenant Varma is filing the paperwork as we speak. That gets you on the flight. Sir, my career's over anyway after tonight. Might as well make it count. The authorization is coming through now. Sure enough, Ava's phone buzzed with official orders. The German personnel at Ramstein looked at each other, then at Klaus, who made a decision that would resonate through international military channels for years. I'll alert the flight crew. They're not going to ask questions. He looked at Ava directly. My grandfather was Wehrmacht. He once told me about a choice he didn't make in 1943, a moment when he could have done right, but chose protocol instead. He regretted it until he died. I won't make his mistake. The final mini-climax of Part 4 exploded as every phone in the hangar suddenly displayed the same message, not from Martinez or Volkov, but from someone new. Ghost 6, this is Eagle Control. Your designation has been reactivated. Authorization Zulu 77. The package you requested 6 months ago is waiting in Moscow. The janitor has graduated to the real game. Ava's face went pale. Tom caught her arm as she swayed slightly. What package? What's Eagle Control? Something that shouldn't exist, she whispered, then louder, addressing the stream. The real mission isn't about Volkov or Martinez. It's about what Webb discovered before he died. What I've been hunting for 6 months. What are you talking about? Martinez's voice had returned, confused now. You were middle management Martinez, a useful idiot selling information for money. But Webb found evidence of something bigger, a systematic infiltration of Western intelligence by a third party. Someone's been playing all of us, including you. The stream went silent for a moment, then exploded with activity. Intelligence agencies worldwide suddenly took notice. This wasn't just a rogue operation anymore. This was about something that could reshape global security. You're lying, Martinez said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. Check your accounts, Martinez. The money you thought came from Volkov, trace it back. Really trace it. See where it actually originated. As Ava ran toward the medical flight, the Barrett case in one hand and her tactical bag in the other, she spoke one last time to the stream. Everyone watching, you're about to witness something that officially never happened. The real war isn't between nations. It's between those who profit from chaos and those who still believe in justice. Park, if you're listening, hold on. I'm coming, and I'm bringing the truth with me. The transport's doors were already closing as she leapt aboard. Through the window, she could see Tom and Chen organizing the makeshift command center, Klaus coordinating with his contacts, and hundreds of people around the world logging into secure channels, ready to support a mission that had evolved from personal revenge to international revelation. The plane lifted off into the German morning, carrying Ghost 6 toward Moscow, and a confrontation that would expose shadows within shadows. Behind her, the live stream continued, now showing split screens of satellite imagery, intercepted communications, and a countdown timer someone had added, 5, 47, 23, until Volkov's arrest deadline. Martinez's voice came through one last time, smaller now, uncertain. What have you done? Ghost. What I should have done 2 years ago, she replied, checking the Barrett scope as the plane climbed toward cruising altitude. I've stopped playing by your rules. The tremor in her hand was back, but she welcomed it now, a reminder that she was human damaged, but still fighting. Moscow waited. Volkov waited. The truth waited. And Ghost 6 was done waiting. The Belarus-Russia border materialized through the medical transport's reinforced window as a line of lights in the darkness. Each checkpoint, a potential trap that could end everything before it began. Ava had changed into Marina Fedorov's clothes during the flight designer Jean's expensive boots, the kind of casual wealth that wouldn't draw attention in Moscow's elite districts. The Barrett was dismantled and hidden in a medical equipment case marked with biohazard warnings that would discourage inspection. 2 minutes to border. The pilot announced, his German accent thick with tension. He'd maintained radio silence since takeoff, knowing that every transmission could be monitored. The live stream showed 300,000 viewers now, the chat a cascade of languages as people worldwide tracked her progress. Someone had overlaid a map showing her position, Volkov's warehouse, and the converging Russian military units. The geometry of disaster was clear to anyone watching. The first real moment of danger came as the Russian border guard approached the ambulance they'd transferred to, his flashlight cutting through the dawn mist. He was young, maybe 22, with the kind of eager attention to detail that could unravel everything. His light swept across Ava's face, paused on her prosthetic eye, which caught the beam strangely, then moved to her documents. Medical transport authorization expired 6 hours ago, he said in Russian, his hand moving to his radio. Ava responded in perfect Moscow, accented Russian, her voice carrying the bored irritation of someone important being delayed. Call Colonel Dmitry Sokolov, Border Security Division. Tell him Marina Fedorov's transport is being delayed by an overzealous corporal who apparently can't read updated digital authorizations. The guard hesitated. There was no Colonel Sokolov, but the confidence in her voice, the specific details made him doubt. In that moment of uncertainty, his phone buzzed with a message that made his face pale. He looked at the screen, then at Ava, then back at the screen, showing the live stream and his own face being watched by hundreds of thousands. Drive, he said, quickly stepping back. Quickly! As they pulled away, Chen's voice came through the hidden earpiece Tom had given her. Someone in the chat warned him he was being watched, said his mother's address would be public if he didn't let you through. The internet's becoming a weapon, Ava murmured, disturbed by the implications, even as she benefited from them. Moscow's skyline emerged from the morning haze 40 minutes later, a mixture of Soviet brutalism and modern glass that created perfect sniper positions every 3 blocks. Ava's trained eye cataloged them, automatically escape routes, defensive positions, kill boxes. The city was a battlefield waiting to happen. The warehouse Volkov had specified sat in the Electrostal district, surrounded by abandoned factories that looked like monuments to industrial decay. The ambulance stopped 2 blocks away, letting Ava proceed on foot. The live stream tracked her through traffic cameras that Klaus's hacker network had somehow accessed, creating a real-time documentary of what might be her last mission. She was 3 steps from the warehouse entrance when the setup revealed itself, not through any mistake on Volkov's part, but because Martinez had gotten there first. The door was open 2 inches more than it should be, the dust on the handle disturbed in a pattern that suggested forced entry rather than a key. "It's a trap," she said quietly, knowing the stream would hear. "Martinez has the warehouse." "Then abort." Tom's voice crackled through the earpiece. "We'll find another way." The decision was taken from her when David Park's scream erupted from inside the warehouse, raw and agonized, and, without hesitation, Ava kicked the door open and rolled inside the Glock-clearing leather as she moved. The warehouse was a killing floor, multiple levels, limited, cover, perfect sight lines for anyone holding the high ground. Martinez stood on a catwalk 20 feet up Park, suspended beside him by chains that looked medieval. Park's mother sat in a chair below, mercifully unconscious or sedated. And Volkov was tied to a support beam, blood running from a head wound, but his eyes sharp and calculating. "Welcome to the real game, Ghost," Martinez said, and now she could see him clearly for the first time in 2 years. He'd aged badly, paranoia and hatred carving lines into his face. He held a tablet showing the live stream, the viewer count now at 400,000. The world gets to watch justice happen in real time. This isn't justice. It's revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. He pressed something on his tablet and machinery hummed to life. The chains holding Park began to lower him toward an industrial grinder that shouldn't have been operational, but clearly was. You have 10 minutes to make a choice. Kill Volkov and Park lives. Refuse, and the world watches him die inch by inch. The live stream exploded with horror and suggestions, but one comment caught everyone's attention. Eagle control package is in position. Southwest corner, 3rd floor. Ava's eye tracked to that location, saw nothing obvious, but trusted the intelligence. Martinez, you've lost control of this situation. Russian military is 8 minutes out. FSB is already surrounding the building. I know. That's why this ends in 7 minutes one way or another. She moved carefully toward Volkov, keeping Martinez in her peripheral vision. The Russian arms dealer looked at her with something like amusement, despite his situation. The package Eagle Control mentioned, it's in the medical case you're carrying, isn't it? The one marked biohazard. Stop talking, Volkov, Martinez commanded, but his voice carried uncertainty now. You never understood what Webb really found. Volkov continued, speaking fast. It wasn't just about weapons sales or information trafficking. Someone's been using both U.S. and Russian intelligence to eliminate specific targets worldwide. Scientists, journalists, politicians, anyone who threatened a larger agenda. Shut up. Martinez fired a shot that sparked off the beam inches from Volkov's head, but the Russian didn't flinch. Ghost 6. The evidence is in a safety deposit box in Zurich. Box 1847. Cantonal Bank. The key is... Another shot, this one grazing Volkov's shoulder, making him grunt, but not stopping his words. The key is hidden in Park's mother's locket, the one she's wearing right now. The chains lowered another foot. Park was trying not to scream, his remaining fingers white where he gripped the chains. 4 minutes left. Ava made her decision. In one fluid motion, she opened the medical case, revealing not the dismantled Barrett, but something else. A prototype weapon that looked like a cross between a rifle and a surgical tool. The electromagnetic pulse rifle, designed to disable electronics within a focused cone. Classified beyond classification, it shouldn't exist outside a laboratory. What the hell is that? Martinez's confidence cracked. Webb's real discovery, Ava said, shouldering the weapon. He found out someone was selling our research weapons that could change warfare itself. This is what got him killed, not information about mortars, but knowledge of who was trafficking in tomorrow's wars. She fired. The pulse was invisible, but its effects were immediate. Every electronic device in a 30-foot cone dyed Martinez's tablet. The machinery controlling the chains, the lights in that section of the warehouse. Park dropped 3 feet and stopped swinging, but safe for the moment. Martinez drew his sidearm, but Ava had already moved, using the darkness and confusion. The Glock spoke twice, one shot, destroying his weapon, the second taking his knee. He fell from the catwalk, screaming, landing hard on the concrete below. 6 minutes until military arrival. Tom's voice warned through the earpiece, one of the few electronics still functioning. Ava crossed to Park's mother first, checking her pulse, drugged but stable. She removed the locket carefully, finding a small key welded to its back, hidden beneath decades of tarnish. Then she climbed to free Park. His chains requiring bolt cutters she found hanging on the wall. Like Martinez had wanted to give her a chance, wanted to draw this out. Ava! Park gasped as she cut him free. Volkov. He's not what he seems. He's CIA asset. Volkov finished, his voice carrying despite his injuries. Deep cover for 15 years. Everything I sold, everyone I dealt with, all reported back to Langley. Until someone started hunting assets like me across the globe. Martinez was just a tool, someone else's cleaning house. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Not Russian military. These were contractors, private military, the kind that didn't officially exist. 6 men in tactical gear weapons, raised moving with lethal precision. "Drop your weapons," their leader commanded in accented English. South African Ava placed it. "You're coming with us. All of you." "The stream's still running," she said, not moving. 400,000 witnesses. "Stream's been cut. Local jamming. You're dark ghost." But he was wrong. The stream had evolved, jumped platforms, mirrored across dozens of sites. Chen and Tom had anticipated jamming created redundancies. The world was still watching through traffic cameras, security feeds, even satellite imagery. Someone in the NSA was definitely getting fired for sharing. The lead contractor raised his weapon, and Ava saw the calculation in his eyes. Kill everyone, blame it on the Russians, disappear into the chaos of competing narratives. But before he could fire, the warehouse's north wall exploded. Not an explosion of fire and debris, but of bodies. Klaus and his team, the volunteers who'd said they wouldn't come, couldn't resist the pull of doing something right. 15 highly trained operators from 6 different nations moving in coordination. They'd worked out during the flight, using the live stream's tactical overlay to position themselves perfectly. The firefight lasted 43 seconds. When the smoke cleared, the contractors were down wounded but alive. Klaus believed in rules of engagement, even when the enemy didn't. Martinez was unconscious, his knee destroyed but survivable if he got medical attention soon. Volkov had freed himself during the chaos, now standing with a pistol he'd obtained from somewhere, aimed at no one but ready. "Russian military 3 minutes," someone reported. "Extraction vehicles waiting," Klaus announced. "We can be at the Polish border in 4 hours if we leave now." But Ava wasn't moving, her attention fixed on Park's mother, who had awakened during the gunfire. The elderly woman looked around with the clarity that sometimes broke through dementia's fog, seeing her son wounded, but alive, seeing strangers with guns, seeing chaos she couldn't process. "David," she said, clearly more present than she'd been in years. "Are these your friends?" "Yeah, Mom." Park managed, tears streaming down his face. "These are my friends." "The ones who fix things?" "Yeah, the ones who fix things." She looked at Ava, then really looked at her, and something passed between them, understanding perhaps, or recognition of sacrifice. "You're the one he talks about in his sleep, the ghost who saves people." "I try," Ava said quietly. "Then save him now. Take him away from here. From all of this." The live stream counter hit 500,000 as Russian vehicles surrounded the warehouse. In 30 seconds they'd breach. Whatever happened next would be witnessed by the world, but that didn't mean it would end well. "There's another way out," Volkov said suddenly. "Underground tunnels from the Soviet era. They lead to the river. I have a boat waiting. Paranoia has its benefits." "Why help us?" Klaus demanded. "Because Ghost 6 is right. This is bigger than any of us understood. Someone's orchestrating a war between intelligence agencies, using people like Martinez to create chaos. If we don't expose them, everyone loses." He looked at Ava directly. "Zurich, box 1847. Everything Webb discovered is there. Names, dates, operations spanning 20 years. The real enemy isn't Russian or American. There's something else entirely." "Corporate," Park whispered, understanding flooding his face. Webb found connections to defense contractors, pharmaceutical companies, tech giants. They're starting conflicts to test weapons, to create markets, to reshape the world according to profit margins, Volkov finished. And they're almost done. This was supposed to be the final cleanup, eliminating everyone who knew. The breach came with professional violence, doors blown, flashbangs deployed, voices screaming commands in Russian. But the warehouse was empty, except for Martinez, unconscious, and abandoned, the perfect scapegoat for whatever narrative needed to be sold. Deep in the tunnels, the group moved fast. Park supported between Ava and Klaus, his mother surprisingly steady on her feet, as if crisis had temporarily burned through her confusion. The live stream continued through someone's phone, the signal weak but persistent, showing their escape to the world. "The boat's ahead," Volkov called, and there it was, a military-style river runner, engines already warming. "It'll take us to international waters. From there, we disappear," Ava finished. "All of us. Until Zurich, until we have the evidence, until we can expose this properly." As they boarded, Park's mother touched Ava's arm. "You saved my boy. He saved himself the day he chose to help me find the truth." "And did you find it?" Ava looked back at Moscow, disappearing in the morning haze at Martinez, who would wake up in Russian custody with no allies and no escape at the teammates who'd risked everything for justice. "We found enough. The rest comes next." The boat pulled away as helicopters appeared overhead, searchlights sweeping the water, but somehow always missing them, whether through luck or because someone in Russian command had decided to let them go, was unclear. Tom's voice crackled through the earpiece one last time. "Streams at 1 million viewers. The world saw everything. Martinez is finished, the network's exposed, and you're alive. What now?" "Now." Ava checked the Barrett case she'd retrieved from the warehouse, complete and ready. "Now we disappear for a while. Let them think we're gone. Then we go to Zurich, get Webb's evidence, and finish what he started." The tremor's back, Park noticed, seeing her hand shake as she set down the rifle. "Good," she said, surprising him. "It means I'm still human, still breakable. That's what makes us different from them. We know we're fragile, so we fight harder to protect what matters." The live stream ended with a final image, Ghost 6 and her unlikely team disappearing into the morning mist, wounded but victorious, having exposed corruption that reached to the heart of global power. The viewer count froze at 1,247,892, a number that would become legendary in intelligence circles. 6 months later, the Zurich papers would be released simultaneously to every major news organization on the planet. The revelations would topple governments, destroy corporations, and fundamentally change how the world understood modern warfare. But that morning on a boat fleeing Moscow, they were just soldiers who'd remembered why they'd first put on the uniform: to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, to stand against wrong, even when it cost everything, to be ghosts when the living failed to act. Ava stood at the boat's rail, her tremoring hand steady on Park's shoulder, her prosthetic eye watching the sun rise over a world that would never be quite the same. The janitor, who'd been mocked for mopping floors, had just cleaned house on a global scale. And somewhere, Marcus Webb's ghost could finally rest, knowing his death had meaning. His discovery had been revealed, and his friend had kept the promise all soldiers make to each other: leave no one behind, not even the dead. The boat disappeared into international waters as sirens wailed in Moscow, as Martinez woke to Russian interrogation, as 1 million people around the world saved and shared the stream that had showed them what courage looked like when everything was rigged against it. Ghost 6 was gone again, vanished into legend. But now the world knew she was out there, watching, waiting, ready to appear, when justice required a steady hand and an impossible shot. The tremor in her hand would never fully heal. The prosthetic eye would always mark her as different. But Ava Cross had learned something in that warehouse, something worth all the pain. Broken things could still break. Tyranny damaged. People could still damage corruption. And sometimes, just sometimes, ghosts could change the world. The story ended where it began, with a soldier doing her job. Only now everyone understood that some jobs require getting dirty, so others can stay clean. The janitor had finished her shift, leaving the world a little less corrupt than she'd found it. Mission complete.